Hello and welcome to Netflix's business model presentation by Thomas Clark. Section 1, Business Model. So basically, to give a little bit of background, Netflix was created in 1997. It came out of California and first offered a DVD rental service, which was basically delivered to your door and then you sent them back. So basically, in an environment that's hyperdynamic, it's crucial that organizations identify innovative competitive strategies. Basically, Netflix continually tries to adapt with technological advancements, and it's done this from sort of day one. So they ran for about 8 or 9 years, and then basically in 2008, they implemented their streaming service, which is now what they're sort of renowned around the world for. So upon completion of the first assessment, we learned that the customers are like a central integral part of Netflix's business model. So they have an awesome competitive advantage in the fact that they have on-demand content 24/7. It can be done over a number of different devices as well, so it makes it very easy for customers and consumers to use the product. There's an overwhelming amount of choice in terms of what you can actually view through the system, as well, and it offers an ad-free environment, which is actually quite rare. Like, even if you look at a lot of other similar subscription services, there is some forms of advertising on them. Like for Stan, for example, uses quite a few ads and advertising spaces. So the ad free environment is a really massive selling point for Netflix, as well as their super low price. So I mean, ranging between $9 to $15 a month, you can gain access to this huge library of content. So, just a quick overview of their initial business model canvas. We've got the customer segments, so they have worldwide distribution, 90 million subscribers of quite a wide age range. As I was saying earlier, a massive library with over 2 billion hours of content consumed monthly. Your value propositions, they have multiple viewing platforms, a really awesome price point, and heaps of original content that they're starting to make themselves now. Like, you hear of sort of hit shows coming out of the States. You've got Stranger Things, just to name a few, House of Cards, Orange is the New Black. So they're really sort of cementing themselves as a production house as well. Their channels of distribution, as also mentioned earlier, DVD and movie rentals, but they also offer their subscription service, which can be basically accessed on anything that can gain an internet connection. So computers, phones, game consoles, tablets, smart TVs, anything you can think of really that offers that sort of service. You can get Netflix on it, which really shows that they've adapted and grown with their technological advancements. So I mean, like, being able to offer apps for your phone, there was some of the first, well, they were the first company to sort of allow that sort of streaming service onto phones, and then just being able to follow that through to all other devices, like even your Chromecasts and your Amazon Fire TV, all that sort of stuff. Customer relations, so they have a very sort of personal feel to it, just because of the self-service model, which basically means you can go in and you can rate your shows, and it uses their algorithms to then sort of go off what you like. It's a really extensive algorithm, actually. 24-hour technical support. So yeah, that just speaks for itself. But yeah, the customer relations, really, the sort of bulk of the advantage lies in the rating and review system. Revenue streams, subscription payments, the DVD rentals, and advertising opportunities within their original content. Their key resources, so they have leading IT infrastructure, warehouses and offices all around the world. Holistic web of many legal processes. So this is just to do with all their copyrights and their licensing agreements and all that sort of thing. So they have a very very big sort of patent orientated culture. 3,700 staff, and then there's two ways that they basically gain the bulk of their revenue. It's through their subscription services, and then the outside investment through it being floated on the stock exchange. So the key activities they undertake: continually training staff, acquiring outside content from other producers, and new content creation is also another offerings. Key partnerships with telecommunication companies, outside publishing houses such as Fox, Sony, all of those sort of guys, Universal Studios, and obviously the US Postal Service for its continuing DVD subscription service that they still offer in the States. So the current business model analysis, basically, from taking out of assignment 1, we can look back and sort of write up a SWOT analysis of sort of what's facing Netflix at this moment in time. So strengths: worldwide brand recognition. 90 million subscribers all around the world is huge. The original content and the portability of that content as well is a really big strength. They're probably leading in terms of their content and the sort of streams you can watch it on. So they're definitely industry leaders in that sense. And yeah, just their unique algorithm that they've spent many years refining and putting many a dollar into has really paid off now. Just makes the viewing for the customer a lot smoother, and it offers up suggestions when they necessarily wouldn't be able to think of their own sort of things that they want to watch. Weaknesses: rising internal costs, but one of the biggest problems is sort of because they have such a large customer base all over the world, and it's started from such a cheap offering like that $9 to $15 range. They actually find it really hard to be able to raise the subscription prices. So that's going to be a massive problem for them, because basically as they start creating more content and that sort of thing, it is an expensive pastime. So to maintain one of their core competitive advantages, they have to invest quite a lot of money. But the problem is they're not seeing as big a returns due to the fact that the only way they can grow their revenue at this moment in time is with new subscribers, not actually being able to raise the subscription prices. Opportunities: it is still a growing market, so they are still expanding into unknown territories, into new countries, and that sort of thing. So there is still a constant growing of revenue, but it's not as large as they need. Then your threats: net neutrality. So that basically refers to, over in America, all the major sort of net traffic is charged at a flat rate, but there are arguments to say that bigger users of bandwidth, so people like Netflix, who I think account for about 30% of the daily bandwidth usage over in America, that it should be billed like pro rata, so however much you use it. So that if that ever comes into fruition, that'd be a real big problem for Netflix. Content providers and competition. So yeah, like your rising costs of gaining outside content, but so gaining from Fox, Sony, Universal Studios, being able to use their content and their licensing agreements. Obviously cost money, and they're always going up. So basically, from looking at this SWOT analysis and sort of undertaking a holistic view of where the company's at, we came up with a new business concept for Netflix. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, some of the biggest problems is the inability to raise the subscription fees. the rising competition as well is a major threat. So you've got people like Hulu and Amazon coming into the game as well now. Um, Even YouTube Red, given they are a few years behind the eight ball. It's just sort of starting to become a bigger part of their business models now. So Netflix is really starting to see an um, emergence of competition, which is also sort of killing off some of their market share. Internal costs, as well as I was saying, to do with the production of original content, and they basically need to find a new income source with minimal expenditure, essentially. So, what we came up with was a separate subscription service for streaming online gaming content. So, this is really cool because it would basically take all the underlying technology that Netflix has built over the last number of years, tweak it slightly. Obviously, this will take a few years in terms of that research and development and that sort of stuff that needs to be done. But then you're going to have a second service essentially that you can either add on to an existing Netflix subscription for an extra fee, or you can just source individually. So it basically means that you'd be able to hit up your existing customer base, and gain an increase in revenue from people who uptake. So I mean, like a lot of families with kids, a lot of younger adults would probably take up this service because a lot of their kids game. A lot of the kids play games, like younger adults as well. So that's really awesome. And then it's also going to allow for the ability to hit up an untapped market of people who don't necessarily watch too much TV, don't use Netflix as a major content provider. So it's really cool. So basically, where are we now? It means Netflix will be able to stay one step ahead of its competitors, which has been doing for the last sort of 20 years since it's been created. So yeah, it'd be really a really good option to sort of keep that competitive advantage. I mean, if you started now and then rolled it out in 4 or 5 years, you're going to be at that point where other competitors are only starting to think about that sort of option. So there is definitely a scope for something like this. And it also, if they can do it correctly and combat the cross platform compatibility issues that are currently seen in the industry, I feel like you'd have a really large influx of customers, because that's one of the major things at the moment is people wanting to game with their mates. One has PlayStation, one has Xbox, one has PC. If you were able to offer a centralized streaming system, you would also be able to offer a centralized server system for online gaming. So it basically means that you would sort of kill off that compatibility issue, which would just give you such a huge competitive advantage over the whole gaming industry, really. So the new business model canvas, as you can see here, this is the new canvas. Well, it's the old canvas because obviously a lot of stuff will still stay the same, and then we've just added in the new options. So yeah, your customer segments are changing with families with an existing subscription. Still very self-service and automated system, with your ratings and your review system put in place. Key partners is going to be a big one. You see the key partners growing from just production houses now at the moment to like game consoles manufacturers, esport competition runners, gaming conferences like E3, in-house game developers as well. Like it grows exponentially. Cost structure, look, increased fixed costs, and content licensing, but that's just because you're growing the existing library and you're growing the existing server infrastructure, which would be expected. But with the increase in revenue, there shouldn't be any problems there. The only major outlay is going to be in the research and development and sort of the coding of of the new product, which is going to take a couple of years and a few trial and error sort of releases. That's why you obviously have your testings and your beta stages and all that sort of stuff. So three of the major changes in the business model canvas, you're going to see the revenue streams. It's going to be one of the biggest changes in the BMC. So you're basically, adding that additional subscription service. But it also allows for more outside investment through advertising opportunities. I mean, you can keep like the movie and the TV side of the business quite ad free because that's a major selling point. But I mean, if you can manage to combat the cross compatibility issues, there would be scope for increase in advertising space there as well. So that really opens up options. And then I mean, you'd have a really good base to then stream esports competitions and that sort of thing as well, which could be also like a pay as you go sort of system. So the revenue streams open right up there. Value proposition, again, similar sort of value propositions to the TV and movie side of it. You just get cheap streaming of really, really large amounts of content, solving your cross compatibility issues, and essentially, if you can manage to do that, you would revolutionize the gaming industry. It would have to change quite substantially. Your key resources. So you're going to use a lot of your same key resources, but they're just gonna expand essentially. So you are obviously going to have to take on new staff. That's for research and development outlay, design, maintenance. It would grow exponentially with the new service, but it will still use the same sort of server networks and that sort of thing that Netflix already used. So it's just growing the already existing resources to a more feasible, like to be able to take on this challenge more feasibly. So the business model analysis. So basically, we can see that risk and uncertainty are always associated with entrepreneurial activity. One of the biggest problems is going to be the large expenditure. It is going to cost a lot of money in terms of the research and design and man hours it's going to take to create the sort of system. Implementation issues as well. It's of a similar ilk, but it is going to take a lot of new technology as well, built off the underlying sort of algorithms. So they're going to have to utilize a lot of already existing technologies that are in that sort of very beginning stages, like your Sony's Remote Play and that sort of thing, to really be able to expand and make this a service worth paying for. It's an untested market as well. I mean, if you were to have a bad release or problems or a buggy release, then you are going to come into a lot of problems with people not paying for the service, not wanting to sort of align themselves with it. So you really need to make sure that you have a finished, polished product before you release, which is obviously going to be difficult and will take time. So that's just going to mean that you've got large costs and overheads there. You also are increasing the reliance on third-party publishers, so your game publishers and your hardware producers like Sony, Xbox, Razer, and then you've got your publishing houses like your EAs, your Sonys again, Ubisoft, and that sort of thing. You are going to have to pay for licensing fees to use their content. And the long lead time for the creation of the service. So we've just sort of mocked up a sort of trial sort of timeline. So basically 2017, the initial ideas pitched to your stakeholders, then have to talk with industry, content and hardware creators, as well as industry leaders to sort of view their opinions on it and go from there. Then got to start developing your software, which is going to take the best part of 2 years at least of pretty intensive full-time work. Then you have to launch betas, test them in sort of in sort of countries like Australia and New Zealand, where the uptake for new technology is quite high, with good wages, good internet connection. You'd have to test them there, see what the uptake's like. So, I mean, it could possibly not even get past the testing stage. So that is a big risk. But at the moment, where Netflix is, it's got a real problem with revenue sourcing at the moment. So it does need to invest in something new. So conclusion, look, yeah, usefulness and predictable power of business models are expected to help entrepreneurs make more informed decisions, thus increasing the chances of success. So I mean, yeah, like we've taken a look at the initial business model canvas and the initial business model that Netflix offers. We've been able to sort of analyze that, and we can see that it is a very fluid model. It is very it's a very good model, very customer centered model. So it's just going to basically be how well they can implement the change to that model, how sort of elastic the model is. So basically, it's a good idea to implement the new streaming service because it draws on so many characteristics that are already known to Netflix. So you're basically just growing that. You're just growing that server and technological sort of side of the business. You're also increasing the staff, but you still have that underlying algorithm, that underlying streaming service. So, I mean, it is a new product that's been offered, but it has very similar tendencies to old products. So it's new, but it's also very familiar. So that's why it will also, I think, be quite a successful option for Netflix. Um, yeah, it's a value capture pivot. They're basically offering a new product, but also still trying to stay in line of becoming that entertainment distribution system center, like a global entertainment distribution center. And I mean, at the moment, they do that well, but they are only offering TV and movies, where I feel the entertainment industry is such a wider scope, especially gaming. I think it's probably on par with the movie and TV industry nowadays, especially with sort of the popularity behind esports, and that growing industry as well. It would be a really smart move for Netflix to be able to sort of move into that and utilize those sort of customers that they're maybe not getting as well. As previously said, it will drastically increase the revenue, which is crucial for Netflix's survival because at the moment their model is probably failing, in terms of the amount of money they're outlaying for that original content to the amount of money they're getting in. There's obviously a deficit there, so I think it's crucial for Netflix to find another revenue offer, another service offering to be able to grow their revenue. Um, and yeah, if correctly implemented, like with proper risk management strategies, um, I think Netflix would be able to pull it off, and they'd definitely be able to stay ahead of the competition. And yeah, just really try and strive for that global distribution, that global entertainment distribution sort of network. And I think it'd be very advantageous for them to undertake the new offering if they're honestly serious about surviving. Because I mean, you look at the people that are offering similar sort of services like your Amazons, and your YouTubes, like they already have an underlying business that they are growing off. Whereas this is really Netflix's only sort of revenue stream is this actual streaming service for the movies and TV. And now that that's drying up, it is obviously time for them to start looking into new horizons for the ability to keep shareholders happy. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. and